Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. The OpTic Legacy match went down last night. So many phenomenal storylines coming out of this one, especially the fact that we believe Scump got the game changed from Black Ops 3 to Call of Duty Ghost, and that completely demoralizes the new OpTic team 5-1 in almost a whitewash here in this Legacy match itself. Loads of talk going down at before, during and after the game. Scump responding to Pred, especially with some trash talk that's been coming out before the series and over the last few days. Is this a sign of things to come from OpTic Texas? Very much interested in your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. And look, this was phenomenally done. And this is why you watch this and you think, damn, how is anyone, at least in the COD space, meant to compete with what OpTic can do? Like, they bring on the sponsors, they've got their own stadium, which also helps, and the production quality of this was mega. I know there wasn't like a crowd or anything, but wow, the way they produced this, like, obviously there were no real techies used or anything. The commentary from George and Blake was absolutely fantastic. Hitch, of course, did a phenomenal job on it, and yeah, the execution was just tremendous. I mean, they had listenings going on, we'll talk about that later today. They had, production quality was fantastic. It was just awesome to watch right from start to finish. And we also got an awesome game to watch. Yes, you guys know that I'm slobbing on the knob of Black Ops 3 all the time, but I do really love Call of Duty Ghost as well, at least for Search and Destroy. And it was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, throwing it back to some of these old school maps. To be honest, I don't like Domination as a game mode, and I think I've made that very clear over time. But Strike Zone Dom is actually a good map mode combination, right? Because it's like circular. If you guys don't know, Strike Zone was adapted from Dome for Modern Warfare 3. It's basically the same layout, but it's designed obviously slightly differently to Dome. But it actually plays really well for Domination because it's kind of a circular map. So when someone gets 1 point, you can actually just kind of rotate circularly to the next one. Whereas on most maps, if you try and make them play for Dom, because it's kind of linear, it's just about holding your home base and then holding B flag. Whereas in Strike Zone, you can hold A and C, you can hold B and C, you can hold, you can do whatever. And that can work really well. Even holding A and C and trapping the opponent into the B, like the B site, actually works really well, or where the B flag is. So, that was great. I mean, Blitz was just an absolute masterclass of a game mode. And I don't know, I'm sure that people will think after watching it, yes, damn, bring back Blitz. And honestly, I don't mind. I mean, Blitz is an awful lot of fun. It's kind of outrageous, but we only got it once because, let's not forget, right, this game came out right after Black Ops 2. And yes, Treyarch had delivered with Hardpoint, right, and captured the flag in the previous game. But Infinity Ward went down a complete different route. You guys, if you were around at the time when Ghost was releasing, they brought this game out with no Search and Destroy. It only launched with this new game mode called Search and Rescue, which is kind of a hybrid of Search and Destroy and Kill Confirmed, where when you killed someone, you had to collect their dog tags to confirm them dead, or if their teammates picked it up, they'd come back to life again. So it didn't even launch with S&D, because Infinity Ward thought that, wow, we know what we're doing better than anybody else, and it turned out once they added Search and Destroy, the game actually played really well for that. So some classic map mode combinations on here, of course, and I was kind of hoping it would go the distance. I was at least hoping we saw Warhawk Blitz, which we did get to see. So we did get 2 Blitzes played, 2 Dominations played, and 2 Search and Destroys played, and we'll see how that happens here in a second. So this was the first look, of course, at the brand new OpTic Texas team, how they would fare. Yes, on a game that they haven't really played before. Pred definitely had some experience playing this game. I think he made that clear. I know that Blake kind of said it during the broadcast as well. And, well, he made it clear in his gameplay. And we'll look at some of the numbers later on today as well. But the OpTic Texas guys having a good time. I know that Kenny was, like, laughing and stuff down. It was funny because Kenny, he always used to get roasted, right, by some OpTic fans, to be fair, when they were laughing as the Los Angeles Thieves in the most recent seasons. Now they were down 4-0 and Kenny was laughing a fair bit, right? And they won the next map, so maybe apparently that works out. So Pred, we'll look at these clips in a second here. Pred was talking about the confidence they've got. Dashy was talking about, we're going to show them who the true professionals are. But the reality is they're playing a game that, especially in some of these respawn modes, Search and Destroy, I think there's always a chance. In the respawn modes, it's really difficult if you don't really know what you're doing to actually have a good time. And Shotzzy goes in not knowing a single corner. I do feel bad for Shotzzy on this one, right? Because he got thrown in here to the Wolves. He's got to play against, obviously, aBeZy was a great player back then as well, and he definitely showed that in the Search and Destroys. But Shotzzy's got to go up against Scump, Crim, and Karma. 3 of the best players in that title. And it was also quite, like, I quite enjoyed the fact that Legacy won, and I predicted them, I think most people probably predicted them to win, to be fair, it is on COD Ghost, which these guys have all played at some length in the past, especially in the respawn stuff. But it just shows that, yes, those guys were phenomenal back then, and there's always talk about, oh, well, the competition wasn't as good back then as it is today, and maybe there's some truth to that, just because it's not like the players were getting paid crazy money, but I do think that it's definitely underrated how difficult it was to achieve what they did achieve back in the day. And it's not like anybody thinks that Scump, Crim and Karma are like bad players, but I think people underrate and underestimate what was achieved by the great teamers back then, just because maybe they think that they were in a weaker period. But you can always compare across eras, and it's always difficult to do, and I think this showed that, you know, they did still have some pretty impressive performances. So yeah, this was the stage. I mean, the level of production on this was mega. And I mean, yeah, obviously they had the listen-ins, they had the guys with the cameras. I don't exactly know who produced this, whether it's like OpTic's internal team put this together, but yeah, I mean, it was incredibly well done. So then the teams take to the stage, right? You've got the OpTic Texas team kind of taken to the stage here for the first time. If it was Black Ops 3, I wonder how this would have gone. It would have probably been closer, I would say. Maybe not, though, because, to be fair, the maps here were all pretty competitive. These jerseys are fire, by the way. I wonder what they'll do with that going into the new season. But map 1 began, and immediately Scump was going on a tear. It was quite clear that Scump wanted to go and watch the Eagles game, whatever was happening, and he also just wanted to lay down a marker, because this was sovereign domination. I know that, I think it was actually, was it Censor who said in the replies, maybe it was in the replies to Scump's own tweet, that this was, in his opinion, Scump's like best map mode combination. And yeah, Scump fried on this. He dropped 30. I think he dropped like 31 in the end. Yeah, 31 in 20. And as he says, how quick they forget. I'm pretty sure it was Doug in the replies that said that, yeah, Scump was built different on this map mode combination. And to be fair, it was a decent start from the OpTic guys, or the OpTic Texas guys. It's kind of difficult to say. OG versus OpTic Texas is the way they did it here. Dashy and Shotzzy had a hard time. Kenny dropped 30. Pred had a, you know, honestly, Pred had like a 1.2. Is this guy a guaranteed 1.2 in every game he plays? Because it kind of feels that way, to be honest with Pred. And I know that he probably had more experience on this than Shotzzy did, who was running around like a headless chicken, to be honest. Not really know the call-outs. I do feel bad for him when you've got to play against Scump, Karma, Crim and Bose, absolute ghost veterans. But yeah, Scump laid the marker down game 1. And then game 2, this was where Bose came to play. He actually clutched 2 separate 1v2s in this map, and they won it eventually in round 11. So this is just great to watch. Money B, he's such a good search and destroy player. Like, he's always, when you watched him back in the day, so much patience in Bose's gameplay. Like 15 seconds left, he knows Dashy's going to come and check the bomb. He takes him down, gets the 1 versus 2. Brilliant stuff. I know there was some controversy actually, because Shotzzy looked like he was going to clutch a 1v3. I think he had the sniper out, and then he shot the guy who was planting the bomb, and then it didn't kill him. Now, the bombs were tricky back in Ghost, because you can actually shoot underneath them. You guys can kind of see here, actually, if you look at this one in the bottom left, there's all these, you can see through it, but you can't always shoot through it because there's all these metal bars in the way. So even though it looked like Shotzzy maybe landed that shot, I don't know if it necessarily did. It might have hit the bomb, because you can't, if you hit the bomb, then it doesn't kill him, right? It doesn't even get a hit marker. So maybe that's what happened to Shotzzy. It was tricky to shoot through the bomb back then, but you could see through it. It was a very different design, actually, to what they had in all the other games before and since. So then eventually they win that game 2 again, and Scott was apparently talking trash to the guys on the other side of the stage again. So I thought it was pretty funny that Scott made it quite clear he didn't want to play Black Ops 3 because he felt like, well, Dashy and Kenny, they'll have a big advantage. And in fairness, they would have been the favourite on that title. But was Ghost the best middle ground? Maybe. I mean, look, it's difficult to find a middle ground game here. I think the Legacy had the advantage here. I think that the Texas guys probably would have had the advantage on Black Ops 3. But nonetheless, Scott was, they could it clear that they were on top. Now, Pred got some really nice highlights here, especially this one, which is reminiscent, if you guys are familiar with Scump's famous like 4, 5, 6 piece he got basically on this spot on Freight Blitz way back in the day against Complexity. And Pred basically gets a similar highlight. And, I mean, it was an awesome little 6 spree here that Pred goes on. I mean, yeah, like, you can imagine the Maven commentary over this as it used to be back in the day. So that was really nice from Pred. But Shotzzy wasn't having the greatest time. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later today when we look at some of the stats from this series. But Shotzzy was struggling a bit, as Ziddy says, you know, left his aim, right his shoot and all this. And even Shotzzy came in the chat and said, this isn't fair at all. I've never even played this. So, yeah, unfortunate for Shotzzy, I think, because he was kind of getting slammed, and it was quite quickly 4-0. So the Blitz, despite Pred starting off well, I think Pred had maybe one capture. Like, he was just playing for kills, you know, fair play. He didn't really know what else to do. Thought, all right, let Shotzzy get the caps. But even back then, the feeling was that you kind of everyone needed to do some of the work in the Blitz. Like, everyone needed to capture some flags and keep rotating it on, or, you know, capture the point, I guess, getting into the portal and getting teleported back. And then there was a phenomenal game of strike zone domination where OpTic Texas went up big first half. And then OpTic Legacy clutched up big time, especially Karma, who went on a mega streak in the second half, had 11 captures. And Pred and Kenny both had 0 captures. Like, I mean, you know, they weren't doing much capturing the objective, it's got to be said. And then we got to the final map of the series. So it was actually 4-1 at this point, because finally OpTic Texas did win a map on the Octane Search and Destroy. And then it went to a Warhawk Blitz, which was a stalemate for quite some time. Dashy started off impeccably. He was 20-8 with the Remington R5, so that was impressive. Maybe at this point they'd given up on winning it. They just decided to play for some kills, but whatever. And yeah, in the end, there was a few moments that went the way of the OpTic Legacy guys. They got in there, and they ended up getting the win on the Warhawk Blitz. This was the way the series went. They were close maps, right? I mean, the Warhawk Search and Destroy was 6-5. The Freight Blitz was close. The Strike Zone Dom was close. The Octane Search and Destroy went the other way. So it was a close and pretty competitive series, but nonetheless, it did end up 5-1.
I think they just think it's going to be some waltz in the park, a free win, you know what I mean? And as the current pros in the CDL, we take offense to that. So, I mean, we're very prideful people, so we're going to come out and show them who's really the professionals here.
So I got to get your opinion on this. A lot of people are saying those guys on the other side of the stage, when this game was out, they were playing plumbers, they were playing substitute teachers, they were playing high schoolers.
Chamberlain era, of course, yeah.
The Wilt Chamberlain era is what he says. What's your opinions on that?
I mean, it's all for it's media. You know what I mean? It's like boxing. They're trying to promote this thing, but we know who's the real boxer here. We'll just say that.
AG, how are we feeling about the match today?
I'll be honest, bro. I'm feeling real right now. Like, Seth hasn't killed me once in this free for all.
What do you think the map count's going to be at the end?
Honestly, I think they'll sneak in an S&D. So I'd say, like, what do we need to win? 6?
5.
5? I think it'll be 5-1, 5-2. That way.
They lose full. I know they're gonna lose full. Yeah, but I know the full stretch.
2 rounds in, they're like actually gonna die.
They're gonna get so pissed. But I'm telling you, I'm gonna sit. I'm on the team with a thermal, and they're never gonna plant the bomb. They're gonna be so tight. They're gonna be so tight. They're gonna be so pissed. It'll be hilarious, bro. I'm gonna have every car.
Rain tracks here. There's a couple absolute monster headies. A couple picks early. A crazy mantle there, but Pred immediately cleans that up. Finds himself a 2-piece on Damon and Seth. Working his way up the left side, and he finds 3. He's gonna press the green button. Let this man go. Give him 4. Pred is an absolute wrecking ball up the left side. A 4-piece for him. Make it a 5. The 6 for Pred. Someone stop this man. He may be new school, but these shots are looking vintage. It looks like he played this game on the heels of Pred. 6 for him. They find their first and their second.
They find 2 off of that.
OpTic Texas with an early game lead.
He's still going. He hasn't died.
He has 7. Finally cut down. The player just calls out for
in a 1v2. Hold up. Versus Dashy and Shotzzy. Takes out Shotzzy though.
20 seconds to work with. 1v1, Bows versus Bruce. And if they're both in American, this is going to be a close range gunfight, and he finds it! Bows the Iceman. There's a reason he was an S&D star in this game. The 1 versus 2 with time to spare. Bows closes the briefcase on that round. A beautiful 1v2 for Bows.
Patient. He knows he's going to peek bomb again.
So the OpTic Legacy team reigned supreme in this one, and the funny thing was, they didn't know, neither did I know, that there was actually going to be a prize pool for this, right? There was $10,000 to the winners. I wonder if Crimsix will think, damn, maybe this is actually, you know, does this count as a LAN win? Maybe I'll get another line on his tattoo on his arm, right? And as Pred says, though, Vector might be the greatest selling card history. The Vector was unbelievable, right? And this is the thing. People talk about time to kill nowadays. The time to kill in Ghost was the original insane time to kill. to be honest, low skill gap game, at least in public matches, with all the IEDs and all the you could just sit still and it was a disaster for pubs. I think there was a serious skill gap there in the competitive scene nonetheless, but the vector was immense. I mean, as was the R5. We didn't see any bulldogs. I thought we might see the shotguns come to play that were used back in the day, famously on Sovereign, when Clayster got the final kill on, was it Goonjar or whatever it was, to win the X Games that season. But yeah, so Money B, Scump, Chrome and Karma, they get the job done. And yes, we can see here, they lifted the $10,000 for the winner, and Scump was like, there's no way we actually won this, right? I mean, kind of incredible. So yeah, congrats to everyone. It was an awesome event to see, and you know, we also got this from Scump, right? So responding to that clip from Pred earlier on, when Scump says this aged like milk, right? So the trash talk coming out of OpTic Texas didn't really go in their favor, and as Kenny's like, yo, I just woke up, that didn't go so well. So later today, wanted to look at what this means for OpTic Texas. If anything, there were some listenings they did, so we got some insights. There were some stats as well, and some people were like, oh, maybe that's going to be a little bit reminiscent of what we're going to see in the upcoming season. But as Money Bo says, woke up and won some paper, played alongside some legends. Yeah, what a day. Very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.